you guys want to stay up to date with my exclusive videos, make sure that you click the bell on the side to get notified. Here's the video. Hey, what's going on, guys? Chris here, Overtime Athletes. For today's video, I want to share with you guys one of my favorite exercises that I incorporate with a lot of my football players. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions from football players lately. I just want to share some explosive exercises with you, things that we can correlate from the weight room and then transfer over to the football field. So you guys know I love base program. You know I love to squat. I love to pull off the ground. I love to perform hang cleans more in a power setting. So same thing with the bar, but I love to jump as far as body weight. And then I love ballistic medicine ball movements, a lot where we're throwing medicine balls and being able to utilize that power. But to go along that strength continuum and focus a little bit more on power and be able to load with a little bit more resistance, but also an integrated movement, I like to utilize more landmine style stuff. Now with traditional landmine stuff, you're performing it with unilateral, meaning you're using one arm. However, I wanted to share with you guys today one with this bar called the combat handles. The combat handles are essentially just, as you can see here, it goes around the sleeve just like that, and it is basically breaks off into almost like a fork into 2 bars. And the reason why I like this, because if some of you guys who played, high school ball, a lot of you guys in your high school weight rooms had the jammer, where it's kind of like that hammer strength where you could go one side or the other, and you're utilizing from your base of support, standing on the ground, driving through your hips and exploding up. It's a great integrated movement to be able to accomplish that. I love hang cleans, but hang cleans only perform one of that hip extension from the actual pull to hip flexion. This incorporates not only hip extension, hip flexion, but it also incorporates the push, which is you're essentially coming through the base of support. So any kind of football movement, whether you're blocking, whether you're engaging with somebody, it's just a great movement for you as a football player. And honestly, I use it with a lot of different sports. But anyway, to kind of go over the movement and explain to you guys what I'm looking for, from a typical standpoint. Now there's other variables for different athletes where I might change some of this technique up. So as far as a universal technique for this movement, what I like to do is I like to start from the top up. So just from the top up, I want to see how far I am out. So I want to be fully extended with my body and the bar completely pushed upright and my arms completely extended. From here, I'm going to drive it down. This tells me where I am. Now I usually set up about a foot away from the bars itself. Next, foot placement, I want to be right underneath my shoulders. Now, you don't want to get too wide. Why? Because at football, you're not really performing in this movement. In fact, most of the time, you want to be under your base of support. So anything that we're doing, I want to be right underneath my shoulders to just outside shoulder width. From here, after I have this set up, I want to go ahead and draw my hips back, right? If you're coming from the ground and you're performing this from the ground as opposed to from a standing position here, and you're actually coming from the ground, you're gonna come a little bit further back. If you're coming from here, which I usually typically teach, you're gonna come right, like I said, a foot away from the bar. Now from this position, you're gonna draw your hips back or reach your hips back. Most mistake guys make when they're trying to perform any kind of landmine movement is they draw their knees forward, so the knees go forward. We want to generate force through the hips, which means we want to drive our hips back. From here, all essentially we're going to do is we're going to drive the hips back, explode into the bar as hard as we possibly can, and extend our hips fully. Now, if you go into resistance, if you start to add resistance, it starts to get heavy, you could perform more of a jerk where you're performing a powerful hip extension and then quick hip flexion at the hip. If you want to do this where it's just, you're kind of doing more strict style or more push press style, you drive the hips up and extend through the bar the entire length. Like I said, utilize this if you guys can. There's other ways that you can kind of mimic this inside your actual gym. Like if you guys are at a chroming carpet, I'm sure you guys can put together some kind of contraption. Like I said, this isn't even on a sleeve. This is just anchored towards the base of support from our racks. It's one of those exercises where I absolutely love to use it. I would suggest looking at Prelepin's table, where you can get a rep range and intensity scheme. So a set rep and intensity scheme, anywhere from your 10 sets of 1, your 8 sets of 2, your 6 sets of 3, kind of stay low, think a little bit less weight, and think maximal force, maximal intensity, all out speed movement. But try this out. I think this is a great movement, total body movement, integrated movement for you to try, explosive movement for football players. I'll catch you guys next time. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you're interested in becoming a better athlete, whether that be sprinting, jumping, strength, or overall looking like an athlete, go ahead and click the box here on my side and make sure that you subscribe to my videos here so I can keep sending them to you. Holler.